In the thick of a jungle where the air hangs heavy with the scent of rain and earth, a baby elephant named Nala trudged through the winding paths. Her ears flapped like petals in a gentle breeze, but today the jungle felt different. An unusual silence wrapped around her, a silence that beckoned curiosity. Nala instinctively turned her large, curious eyes towards the heart of the woods, feeling a pull she could not explain. Just then, a faint cry pierced the still air, a sound so heart-wrenching it could not be ignored. It trembled through the trees, reaching Nala's ears with the urgency of a soft whistle. She paused, her long trunk quivering slightly as she filtered the air. Nala had never heard a sound like that in the jungle. It called to her, stirring a protective instinct deep inside her. With each step, the cries grew louder, more desperate. Nala pushed through thick underbrush, her little feet navigating roots and stones. She stumbled now and then, her ears perked up. Listening, there was something in the tone of those cries that set her heart racing. Not far ahead, just beyond a thicket, she caught sight of a small, tangled form. A boy lay there, trembling with both fear and exhaustion. He couldn't have been much older than 5. His clothes were dusty and torn, and his face streamed with tears as he looked around, lost and alone. Nala could feel his hopelessness like a swift river cutting through the jungle floor. She approached cautiously, her immense size dwarfing him but her heart swelling with tenderness. As she neared, the boy turned his wide, frightened eyes towards her. Nala stopped dead, her heart pounding like a drum. In that moment, their worlds collided, the vastness of the jungle against the fragility of a lost child. Time seemed to stand still. It was as if the universe had aligned both their destinies in an unbreakable bond. The boy blinked, uncertain whether he should trust this unexpected giant. But then Nala dropped her trunk softly to the ground, nudging the child gently. Encouraged, he reached out slowly, brushing his fingers against her rough skin. In that simple touch, a silent understanding washed over them. She was a creature of the jungle, and he was a soul in need. Instinctively, Nala wrapped her trunk around him. It was surprising how easily she could lift him, cradling him as if he were made of spun sugar. She turned, her heart guiding her backward. She wouldn't abandon him here, not in a place where darkness loomed behind every tree. Nala trotted through the dense foliage, weaving past towering trees and past twisting vines, her primary focus on safety. With every step, the boy felt the rhythm of Nala's breathing. It was calming, a steady reminder that he wasn't alone. She was with him. And somehow that made the whole world feel a little lighter, a little less daunting. As they journeyed deeper, shadows played tricks on his mind, memories of how he got lost flickering like a film reel. He remembered the picnic with his family, the laughter that echoed in the sun as they explored the fringes of the jungle. He had wandered too far, curiosity pulling him deeper until laughter turned into silence and silence into despair. In the heart of it all, he had thought of his mother, her gentle voice calling his name, a melody he desperately longed to hear again. But now he had this giant guardian, this unexpected ally. With every wave of her trunk and each swish of her gigantic ears, Nala assured him he would be okay. Yet as minutes turned into hours, the shadows began to stretch and the air turned thick with an impending storm. The towering trees swayed, whispering secrets of the jungle. Nala felt the tension building, dark clouds surged above. In that moment, she sensed that danger lurked not only in the wilderness but also in the creatures that called it home. Fierce predators hunted under the cover of night, and Nala knew she had to press on, no matter the cost. The boy felt a pang of fear as thunder rumbled in the distance. He clutched Nala's ear tightly, the warmth of her body offering some comfort in the rising dread. Just ahead, a clearing appeared, light breaking through like hope shining after a storm. Nala whisked him toward it, determined to run faster to find safety. But as they emerged, they faced a terrifying sight. A pair of wild wolves prowled the edge of the clearing. Their eyes glinted like shards of glass, hungry and cold. Nala sensed their malice, the air thickening as tension crackled like electricity. The boy's breath quickened, a quick panic tightening his chest. Nala settled her stance, her large frame blocking the boy from view. This was the moment where every instinct kicked in. She trumpeted, a sound reverberating through the trees, vibrating the very leaves with her defiance. The wolves paused, their hunger momentarily halted by the fearless call of the elephant before them. Nala took a step forward, her tusks gleaming in the light, a formidable wall of strength and courage. The wild wolves, sensing the power she wielded, retreated slightly, but their eyes did not leave her. The jungle teetered on the precipice of chaos, and the boy felt a shiver race down his spine. With every pulse of tension, Nala readied herself, her feet sinking into the earth as if declaring war against the looming threat. She knew that she had to protect the small, lost soul. The boy felt a rush of gratitude swell inside him. This great elephant had chosen him against all odds to guide and defend. As if sensing their momentary hesitation, she stomped her foot, shaking the ground beneath her. The wolves growled low, but Nala did not waver. She edged forward, determined to assert her strength. The boy's heart thudded in rhythm with Nala's powerful movements, and when she took a final lunge, the wild beasts turned and fled into the dense foliage. Relief washed over them both like a cleansing rain, but Nala did not stop. She urged the boy forward, urgency propelling them through the jungle's once familiar embrace. panic started to creep back in, a heavy weight settling on the boy's heart. He cried, but Nala didn't respond with words. She simply pressed on, her love and instinct guiding her. The darkness of the jungle was intensifying, but sparks of light began to appear in the distance. There, on the edge of their world, lay the village, the boy's village, his home. Hope pierced through the heaviness like the first rays of dawn, igniting strength in his tired limbs. As they pushed through the treetops, the sounds of laughter and chatter became audible, drowning out the throbbing of his heart. Surprise flickered in Nala's eyes as she understood the path they were on. She urged him forward, her pace quickening until they burst into the clearing of the village, where lanterns hung like stars against the twilight sky. The moment the boy's feet touched familiar ground, an explosion of shouts erupted around him. His mother appeared, her face washed in a frenzy of emotion. The moment their eyes locked, she rushed forward, cupping his face in her trembling hands, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Nala," she cried, her voice tinged with disbelief and overwhelming relief. That moment, captured in the chaotic embrace between mother and child, silenced the village's spellbound audience witnessing a miracle. In the midst of this joyous reunion, Nala stood, her heart swelling as she watched, a quiet satisfaction lifting her spirits. She had done what was meant to be done. A bond had been forged, a child saved by the unlikeliest of heroes. But the boy, still in his mother's arms, turned and pointed toward Nala, his eyes wide with awe. "She found me," he exclaimed, his voice carrying through the village like a sweet song. Eyes turned, hearts softened as they realized the story hidden behind the gentle giant of the jungle. As whispers of the tale spread, the villagers gathered around, marveling at the beautiful creature. They showered Nala with praise, offering her food and fresh fruit as a gesture of gratitude. But as the stars twinkled overhead, Nala felt something deeper. This wasn't just a tale of survival, it was a communion of love, a reminder of the connection between man and beast, a celebration of awareness we often overlook. Under the moon's soft glow, as laughter echoed and stories danced between the villagers, Nala took a step back. She didn't need the accolades or treats. The boy once lost was now safe, his laughter mingling with the symphony of the night. With one last, gentle trumpeting sound, Nala turned and vanished into the depths of the jungle, her heart light with the knowledge that every moment of fear had led to this, the power of compassion that transcends all boundaries. And somewhere deep in the jungle, she felt a bond tug at her heart that would forever remind her of the day she became a true guardian, planting seeds of resilience in the soul of a little boy, and a village forever changed by a tale of courage. In the heart of a dense jungle, a thick mist hung low, wrapping around the ancient trees like a shroud. The tranquility of the early morning was shattered by a frightened cry. It echoed through the trees, a haunting melody of fear that twisted through the air like smoke. Nala, a baby elephant with wide, curious eyes, lifted her head high. She had been wandering through the underbrush, playing and exploring her world when the sound reached her. Instinct took over, it pulled at her heart, urging her to find the source of the distress. What could possibly be wrong? What was out there? With cautious steps, she moved toward the sound, her tiny feet barely making a sound on the leafy ground. Every snap of a twig and rustle of leaves felt amplified under the weight of the unknown. As she pushed deeper into the thicket, the cries became clearer. They were small, desperate, and full of sorrow. Nala wrinkled her trunk, trying to catch the scent of whatever lay ahead. The jungle around her was thick, almost suffocating, but she pressed on, determination fueling her every move. As she rounded a bend, something caught her eye, glinting in the dappled sunlight. There, tangled in vines and surrounded by tall grass, was a small child, a boy no older than 5. His clothes were torn and dirty, his face streaked with tears. He trembled as he looked around, panic written all over him. Nala's heart twisted. She could feel his fear as if it were her own. She stepped closer, instinctively lowering her massive head to meet his gaze. The boy froze, his wide eyes reflecting a mixture of fear and wonder. Could this gentle giant really be there to help him? With a gentle nudge from her long trunk, Nala brushed against the boy's shoulder. He flinched but quickly relaxed, letting out a small gasp as if sensing she meant no harm. Tentatively, he reached out to touch her skin. It was rough yet warm, pulsing with life. Nala could feel the trembling in his small fingers, and in that moment a bond sparked between them, a silent promise that they would face the storm together. The boy's eyes brightened, a flicker of hope igniting within. He whispered, and somehow Nala understood. She wrapped her trunk around him, lifting him gently off the ground. The boy gasped in surprise, but soon began to giggle, feeling the weight of his fears lift as Nala shifted her huge frame to carry him safely. She seemed to say through the soothing eyes she gazed into. And off they went, deeper into the jungle, where the light danced through the treetops and the whispers of leaves sang their symphony. As they journeyed through the underbrush, Nala felt the weight of the world, both heavy and beautiful. The child clung to her, his small hands gripping her coarse hairs, a tiny warrior ready to take on whatever wilderness lay behind. They navigated tangled roots and deep puddles, with the calming cadence of Nala's steps acting as a comforting rhythm against the chaos of the surrounding jungle. But just as hope began to bloom in the boy's heart, the soft sound of thunder grumbled overhead. The sky darkened ominously, clouds swirling together like dark thoughts converging. Nala halted, her ears perked up, sensing a shift in the jungle's atmosphere. A storm was brewing. Panic flashed in the boy's eyes, and he tightened his grip around her neck. He cried. Nala turned once more to him, her heart swelling with empathy. She could feel the electricity in the air, a warning that danger was near. But she wouldn't allow fear to prevail. She pressed forward, needing to find safety before the storm unleashed its fury. But nature had other plans. Just as they entered a clearing, a rustling noise came from behind some dense foliage. A pair of wild eyes appeared, watching them with hungry intent. Out stepped a large panther, sleek and powerful, its muscles rippling under its dark coat. The jungle fell silent, the tension palpable as it stalked forward, its gaze fixed on Nala and her precious cargo. The boy's heart raced, and Nala's protective instincts roared to life. She lowered her head, getting between the child and the predator. Even though she was small for her species, there was a confidence in her stance, a deep-seated, hopeful strength that seemed almost to push back against the approaching threat. "Stay brave," she seemed to communicate, projecting her thoughts into the ether as she prepared to confront the panther. The massive feline eyed her warily, sensing the unusual courage coming from this tiny, young elephant. It stepped closer, muscles tensed and ready to pounce. But Nala wasn't backing down. With a sound that erupted from the depths of her being, a loud, rumbling trumpet that echoed through the trees, she stomped her foot, shaking the ground beneath her. The roar of her defense reverberated against the jungle's silence. For a moment, the panther hesitated, its confidence wavering. It was a split-second decision, but it was enough. Nala charged forward, small but mighty, her spirit radiating strength as she rushed at the panther. Startled, the predator turned tail, scampering off into the depths of the forest, disappearing into the shadows. The boy gasped, eyes wide and mouth agape. Nala turned back to him, relief washing over her like a warm breeze. The danger had passed, but the storm was still brewing. They could not linger. With newfound determination, she nudged the boy gently, urging him onward. He asked, his voice shaking slightly, but a sense of trust was blooming. "Nala," she seemed to say, her soft eyes connecting with his. As they pressed on, the winds picked up, howling through the trees as if trying to drown out the sound of their racing hearts. They were drawing close to the edge of the jungle, where the trees began to thin and the sounds of the village could be faintly heard. But just as Nala picked up her pace, thunder cracked across the sky, echoing through the forest like a soldier's drum. Heavy rain began pouring down, drenching them instantly as torrents of water flooded the earth. The child squealed, clinging tightly as Nala barreled forward. She was driven by one thought: to get him home safe. Flashes of lightning illuminated the jungle, piercing through the murky darkness. Nala felt the urgency surge within her, each step more frantic than the last. Lightning struck nearby, and the boy instinctively nestled closer against Nala's warm body. But despite the chaos swirling around them, he felt an overwhelming sense of safety. The bond between them was undeniable now. Eventually, they burst through the underbrush and out into the familiar expanse of the village. It was a stark contrast to the wild depths they had just traversed. The huts, draped in colorful fabrics, stood resilient against the storm. Children laughed and played, completely oblivious to the turmoil lurking just beyond their threshold. But then, the laughter vanished as gasps erupted. The villagers froze, their eyes widening as they caught sight of the baby elephant emerging from the jungle, a wet child perched upon her back. The scene was surreal. It felt like a dream materializing before their eyes. The boy's mother was the first to react, her voice ringing out like a clarion call in the rain. "My baby," she cried, rushing forward, her heart taking flight as she embraced her child. Nala stood nearby, proud, watching their reunion as if she felt the joy radiating from them like the sun breaking through storm clouds. The village erupted into a cacophony of disbelief, whispers of awe washing over them like the rain. Children emerged from their homes, eyes sparkling with wonder. They clustered together, pointing at the miraculous sight before them. Nala hadn't just rescued a lost child, she had woven a tapestry of connection between man and beast. The separation that once existed faded away, replaced by a profound understanding of shared existence, a reminder that the jungle had its own heartbeat, a rhythm that they all belonged to. As the rain poured down, people gathered around, marveling at the gentle giant. The boy, now in his mother's arms, pointed excitedly toward Nala. "I told you," he exclaimed, his voice ringing with triumph. The villagers rushed forward, offering food and gifts to their new hero, their eyes shining with wonder and gratitude. They knelt before her, their hearts swelling with admiration for the little creature who had braved the storm and saved a life. But Nala, feeling the warmth of their appreciation, took a step back. She felt the importance of her role, the protector, the guardian. But she knew her place was out there, running wild and free in the depths of the jungle, where love intertwines with survival. As they placed palm leaves and fruit at her feet in thanks, she looked back at the boy, his smile lighting her world in a way she hadn't anticipated. In his eyes, she saw everything: the adventure, the fear, the connection, and the power of trust. With a gentle trumpet of gratitude, Nala turned away, feeling fulfilled, like the final notes of a symphony echoing in perfect harmony. She stepped back into the jungle, weaving between the trees, allowing the shadows to embrace her once more. Behind her, the village buzzed with newfound energy, celebrations erupting for the child who had returned home safely, for the bond that had formed, and for the miracle of a baby elephant who had reminded them all of the incredible power of love, and connection, reminding them that every creature holds the heart of a hero, waiting to rise in the most unexpected moments. In the heart of a lush jungle, where the air was thick with moisture and the songs of hidden creatures filled the air, an unusual sound shattered the morning stillness. It was faint at first, a soft whimpering that blended with the rustle of leaves and the chirping of birds. But to Nala, a baby elephant with large, curious eyes, it was like a beacon calling her name. She lifted her trunk, ears flapping as she turned her head toward the noise. It was a cry for help, and without thinking, she ventured deeper into the jungle, her little feet carrying her over tangled roots and through thick underbrush that seemed to close in around her. Nala silently wondered as the shadows danced around her. But this time something felt different, almost electric, as if the jungle had a secret only she could discover. With each step, the cries grew louder, more frantic. Nala pushed through the foliage, determination pushing her forward. And then she saw him, a small boy no older than 5, his bright eyes wide with fear. He was tangled in a mess of vines, his clothing torn and dirty, dirt smudged across his cheeks like war paint. Nala's heart sank at the sight. Without hesitation, she strolled closer, lowering her massive head to the ground. The boy gasped, blinking in astonishment at the enormous creature before him. Nala's huge frame seemed to fill the space, a gentle giant in the midst of chaos. "Don't be scared," she seemed to communicate as she nudged him with her trunk, a gesture filled with soft reassurance. The boy reached out tentatively, his tiny fingers brushing against her warm skin. It was like a spark. Suddenly, he understood that she was there to help him. He whispered, his voice quivering yet full of hope. Nala gently lifted the boy with her trunk, cradling him with surprising tenderness. His eyes widened in awe as he found himself perched safely on her back. She took a moment to shake off the vines clinging to him, something deep within her stirring with purpose. They were a team now, bound by the peril of his situation. Just as they began to make their way through the jungle, a rumbling thunder echoed overhead, dark clouds swirling ominously. The boy clung tighter, panic creeping back into his heart. He called, fear seeping into his voice. "Storms come and go," Nala seemed to murmur softly, her ears flicking back and forth. She felt a twinge of urgency. They had to get to safety before the skies unleashed their fury. Nala picked up her pace, careful yet determined. The jungle transformed around them, once a vibrant green paradise, now a looming maze filled with shadows. The boy felt the first raindrops sprinkle down, adding to the tension. He cried out, remembering how he had wandered too far the day before, how he had lost track of everything familiar. But just as hope began to bloom in the boy's heart, a rustling in the underbrush stopped them in their tracks. Out emerged a wild animal, a sleek panther, moving gracefully with deadly intent. It locked its fierce gaze on Nala and the boy, hunger glistening in its eyes. Nala's instincts kicked in like a wildfire. She positioned herself protectively in front of the child, shielding him from the predator. She took a step forward, raising her trunk and letting out a powerful trumpet that reverberated through the trees. The sound was fierce, like thunder rolling overhead, and it startled the panther, if only for a moment. In that breath of hesitation, Nala made her move, charging forward, her small but sturdy form exuding bravery. The panther faltered, sensing the unexpected courage radiating from the baby elephant. In the wild dance of survival, it chose to retreat, darting back into the underbrush. Heart racing, Nala turned back to the boy. "You're safe," she seemed to say, though the storm clouds loomed ever closer. They had to keep moving. The boy's heart raced with a strange mixture of fear and exhilaration. He shouted, the echo of her bravery igniting a flame of courage in his own heart. Together they pressed onward, the rain starting to pour in earnest. It fell from the sky in heavy sheets, the jungle becoming a cacophony of sound. But Nala was undeterred, her large body plowing through the downpour, determined to protect the boy in her care. The boy called out, his voice rising above the chaos. He could see the telltale signs of the village figures scurrying to get indoors, lanterns flickering as the storm surged around them. Nala felt a surge of strength, her heart echoing the boy's resolve. They could do this together. And then, in a flash of brilliance, they emerged from the tangled greens into the clearing, where the village lay vibrant against the pounding rain. But shock washed over the village as they stepped out into view. The sight of a baby elephant with a child beneath the canopy of her protective presence was like something out of a fable. Gasps filled the air, eyes wide. The storm raged on, but this scene seemed to hold its breath in awe. Inside the village, the boy's mother stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest as she recognized her child, safe and sound atop the back of an unlikely savior. All of her fears rolled back over her like the tide, and a cry escaped her lips. She screamed, rushing forward, tears streaming down her face. The boy leapt from Nala's back, landing squarely in his mother's arms, their embrace a mix of relief and joy that lifted the tension from the air. he exclaimed, pointing at the baby elephant, whose strength and bravery had made this impossible reunion possible. Nala stood back, the weight of the moment settling around her like a warm blanket. The villagers gathered, their eyes reflecting admiration and disbelief. They reached out, offering fruits and treats, tokens of their gratitude for the creature who had traversed the storm and conquered the wild. But Nala understood something deeper in that moment. She had not just rescued a child, she had birthed hope, a reminder of the bond shared between nature and humanity, stitched together by acts of love and courage. They were not so different after all. As laughter erupted around her and the applause filled the air, she felt her place back in the jungle, a world where she could roam free yet belong to something larger than herself. Yet, despite the adoration, Nala knew her journey with the boy was destined to be brief. With a gentle nod in farewell, she began to retreat back into the jungle from which she came, feeling the villagers' gazes upon her. She would never forget the boy or the way his eyes lit up in gratitude. When the last of the cheers faded, she stepped back into the shadows of the trees. But as she moved through the undergrowth, she turned one last time, her trunk raised high, giving a final trumpeta sound filled with purpose, echoing through the jungle. The villagers watched, a deep understanding blossoming within them. The connection between their world and this gentle beast solidified in everything that had just transpired. As night fell, the storm began to wane, and the stars were free to illuminate the sky once more. In that quiet evening, families hugged their children close, a little more aware of the wilderness that lay on their doorstep. The boy sat with his mother, recounting the story to anyone who would listen, eyes alight with excitement. That night, the village swelled with the essence of a shared miracle. The tale of a baby elephant rescuing a child would be repeated long after the rains ceased, reminding everyone that compassion knows no bounds, that courage hides in the most unexpected places, and that the strong can protect the weak. In the jungle, Nala felt the pulse of life all around her, vibrant and untamed. She would continue to roam, her heart forever linked to a courageous boy and a village that learned how to see beyond the surface. And in the quiet of the night, under a blanket of stars, she trumpeted once more an echo of bravery, an anthem of the wild, resigning to the dance between destiny and the bonds that tie them all together. In the heart of a thick jungle, where the sunlight barely pierced through layers of leaves, a baby elephant named Nala wandered among the towering trees. Her ears flapped like sails in the breeze, and her small, curious eyes scanned the world around her. On this particular day, everything felt heavy, as if the jungle was holding its breath. Suddenly, a soft, desperate cry broke the tranquility of the scene. Nala's ears perked up, and her heart raced with a mix of fear and curiosity. What was that sound? It tugged at her in a way she couldn't understand. Without a second thought, she set off deeper into the thicket, determined to find the source of the cry. Each step took her further away from the familiar paths of her home. The dense underbrush brushed against her legs, but her focus was unwavering. The cries grew louder, more frantic, reverberating through the trees and pulling her closer like a magnet. After a while, she pushed through a thick curtain of leaves and stumbled upon a small clearing. There, in the midst of wildflowers and tall grass, was a childhood boy no older than 5. He was tangled in a mess of vines, tears streaming down his dirt-smudged cheeks. His bright eyes widened in terror as he looked around, completely alone in the unforgiving wild. Nala felt a surge of something deep inside her. She didn't know what it was, but it drove her closer. Gently, she knelt down, her massive frame dwarfing the boy. The contrast between her size and his vulnerable form sent a wave of protectiveness washing over her. "Don't be scared," she seemed to tell him with her soft, cognizant gaze. With her trunk, she reached out, nudging him lightly. The boy flinched but quickly reached out, brushing his fingers along the rough surface of her skin. He whispered, hope mingling with fear in his quaking voice. Nala responded with an instinctive understanding. She skillfully wrapped her trunk around him, lifting him gently off the ground. The boy gasped in surprise but then laughed. The sheer wonder of being carried by this gentle giant shifted his perspective, his fear losing some of its grip. With careful steps, Nala guided him through the tangled vines and back into the comforting embrace of the jungle, now a little less intimidating, now that he had this majestic creature by his side. But as they moved, the skies darkened ominously, clouds swirling above them, hinting at the storm that was brewing. The boy urged, excitement and anxiety mixing in his voice. He clung to Nala's neck, not wanting to let go of the safety she provided. The jungle seemed to respond to the tension. Rustling leaves and distant growls filled the air. Nala picked up her pace, trusting her instincts, while the boy's heart raced in time with her powerful steps. A bond was being forged between them, something profound and unspoken. But then, just as they broke through the dense underbrush, a low growl echoed around them. Emerging from the shadows was a wild wolf, its eyes gleaming with hunger. Nala instantly halted, going rigid, her protective instincts kicking in. The boy tightened his grip around her neck, his heart pounding with fear. Stay calm, Nala seemed to communicate through her powerful presence. She stepped in front of the boy, lifting her head high, showing her tusks, a warning that she would protect him at all costs. For a moment, the wolf hesitated, sensing the strength radiating off the baby elephant. Nala's heart pounded as she stood her ground, instinct and intuition tugging at her. She wouldn't let anything happen to this child. The distance between them narrowed, tension crackled in the air like lightning. His voice echoed through the clearing despite the fear that gripped him. That shout seemed to tip the scales. Nala surged forward, letting out a trumpet that rolled through the jungle like a thunderous wave. The sound shook the ground and startled the wolf, causing it to back away slowly before eventually turning tail and fleeing into the underbrush. The threat had passed, but the rain began to fall. What started as a drizzle quickly escalated to heavy downpours, soaking Nala and the boy. Thunder rumbled ominously overhead, but Nala didn't hesitate. She turned, urging the boy to hold on tightly. She trumpeted, the urgency in her tone clear. They shot forward, darting towards the village, the boy's laughter mingling with the downpour. The vivid colors of the jungle blurred around them as they raced through the storm, the boy feeling a sense of empowerment riding on Nala's back. Together they braved the tempest, the bond between them growing more profound with each daring leap. But just as they neared the outskirts of the village, a sudden crack of lightning seared through the sky, illuminating the scene. Nala froze, her senses heightened, feeling an energy in the air. The jungle might be their sanctuary, but it was also a place filled with dangers lurking just outside sight. The boy shouted, his voice ringing out above the storm. It was a moment of shared courage, the child encouraging the beast that had become his guardian. Nala pressed on, her heart intertwined with his spirit, their trust guiding them like a beacon. They reached the edge of the village, where huts stood firm against the elements, their bright colors muted by the rain. But the villagers froze at the sight before them, a baby elephant carrying a child through the storm. The image struck them like lightning. Gasps rippled through the crowd, mothers pulling their children close, eyes wide with disbelief. The boy leapt from Nala's back and sprinted toward his mother, who rushed out of her hut, utterly overwhelmed with joy and relief. She cried, enveloping him in her arms. All her fears melted away in an instant. But then her eyes widened as she turned to see Nala standing just a few steps away, soaked but majestic. She exclaimed, tears streaming down her cheeks as gratitude seemed to pour from her heart. Nala couldn't help but feel a surge of pride wash over her. She had not only saved a lost child, but had also brought joy back to a family. The bond they had formed transcended words, woven together by shared moments of bravery and trust. The villagers began to emerge from their homes, their shock giving way to admiration. They approached Nala with soft voices, offering her fruit, fresh leaves, and tender words of thanks. How could a baby elephant have done something so extraordinary? It was a story that would linger in the hearts of the people forever. As the storm faded into a gentle rain, a sense of calm settled over the village. It was a surreal moment, witnessing this petite creature standing so boldly, a savior in every sense. In turn, Nala felt a warmth spread within her, knowing that she had found her purpose, not just as a creature of the wild, but as a protector of innocence. In that enchanting evening, as daylight faded and lanterns flickered to life, the villagers found themselves captivated by the tale of adventure. They gathered around Nala, listening intently as the boy recounted his experience of fear and thrill, leaving out no detail of their wild journey together. He was scared at first, but I told him we would be brave, he recounted, his eyes shining. She faced a wolf. Nala listened, her heart swelling with each word. The villagers shared laughter and wonder, their hearts knitting together through the shared story as they embraced the bond between their world and the wild jungle that surrounded them. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Nala felt something extraordinary, the love pouring in from the humans, that powerful bond of connection that transcended all boundaries. In that moment, she realized she would become a part of this village forever, interwoven into a tapestry of shared stories and hope. But the jungle was calling to her, a world bursting with life and freedom. As the final echoes of laughter faded, Nala turned to face the trees from where she had come. She would return to her world, but the village would carry a piece of her with them. With a final, powerful trumpet that rang through the night, she took a few steps back into the shadows of the jungle. The villagers watched in awe, knowing they had witnessed something remarkable, a story of survival, courage, and friendship. Nala slipped away, back into the embrace of the jungle, but the memories of that day would echo within her heart forever. She had found a lost child, forged a bond that defied the wild, and in doing so, not only changed the boy's life, but illuminated the souls of an entire village. In the quiet of the night, as the stars sparkled like dreams made real, the villagers whispered to each other about the baby elephant who had shown them the power of compassion and bravery, a creature who, against all odds, had bridged the gap between the wild and the familiar. And under the same vast sky, Nala trotted back into the depths of the jungle, her spirit free to roam, knowing that somewhere deep in her heart, she had found a home she would always cherish. In the heart of a dense jungle, an unusual sound pierced the quiet morning air, cutting through the symphony of chirping birds and rustling leaves. It was a soft whimper, barely audible yet filled with desperation and fear. Nala, a small baby elephant, perked up her large ears, her instincts immediately alert. Something wasn't right. Curiosity surged within her, propelling her forward. What could possibly be making that sound? Without a second thought, she plunged deeper into the foliage. weaving through thick vines and towering trees that seemed to whisper secrets. Her heart raced, driven by a mix of apprehension and a budding sense of purpose. As Nala pushed through the dense underbrush, the whimpering grew louder, more insistent. Each cry tugged at her heartstrings, pulling her closer to its source. She could feel the weight of anxiety hanging in the air, a palpable current of fear. What was waiting for her? Finally, she emerged into a sunlit clearing, and there, amidst the wildflowers, was a child no older than 5. His clothes were torn and dirt smudged his cheeks, streaks of panic evident in his wide, tear-filled eyes. He was tangled in the vines, frustration and fear painting his small face in strokes of desperation. Nala's heart ached at the sight. She approached cautiously, her large form casting a safe shadow over him. "Don't be afraid," her gentle gaze seemed to convey. The boy stopped, trembling long enough to look up at the enormous creature before him, a blend of astonishment and relief washing over his features. Tears streamed down his cheeks as he mustered the strength to speak. He pleaded, his voice tiny and trembling. The sincerity in his eyes pierced through Nala's heart. She understood. With a swift yet careful motion, Nala wrapped her trunk around the child, lifting him gently off the ground. He gasped, astonished at the unexpected lift. The moment their eyes met, an unspoken bond formed, one of trust and connection. In that instant, the jungle felt a lot less daunting. Nala seemed to say, and off they went, back into the wild. With every stride, the boy felt a rush of exhilaration pulse through him, and laughter bubbled up from within, the fear beginning to dissipate like the early morning fog. But just as their spirits began to soar, dark clouds rolled in overhead, the air growing heavy with an impending storm. Thunder rumbled in the distance, sending a shiver down the boy's spine. He glanced back at Nala, fear creeping back into his heart. He asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Trust me," she seemed to reassure him with a long gaze. Nala picked up her pace, the urgency mounting. Just then, a crack of lightning illuminated the clearing, and the boy's heart raced. Suddenly, from the trees emerged a menacing figure, wild eyes glowing in the dim light. A panther, sleek and powerful, stepped into their path, its gaze locking onto them with a predator's hunger. Nala froze, instinct kicking in. She stepped protectively in front of the boy, shielding him with her massive form. The boy whimpered, clutching Nala's ear desperately, his heart pounding in sync with the thunder. In that moment, Nala felt a surge of bravery wash over her. She couldn't let the child down. Gathering every ounce of courage, she lifted her trunk and let out a loud trumpeta sound so fierce it sent shivers through the jungle. The panther hesitated, caught off guard by the unlikely threat. Taking advantage of the moment, Nala charged forward, her small body instinctively positioning itself as a barrier between danger and the helpless boy. The panther, sensing the boldness radiating from the baby elephant, faltered. And in a heartbeat, it turned tail, vanishing back into the tangled shadows of the jungle. With the danger gone, Nala turned back to the boy, who looked at her wide-eyed, relief flooding his tiny frame. He exclaimed, his spirit lifting like a kite catching the wind. The bond between them had deepened, forged in defiance of the wild. But just as they began to breathe again, the sky cracked open and rain poured down in torrents, drenching them instantly. The boy squealed with delight, his laughter mixing with the rhythm of the falling rain. Nala felt a warmth radiating from within, their shared experience turning fear into joy. She called out, her movements swift and decisive. With the boy clinging to her back, they pressed on through the jungle, navigating puddles and streams that had formed in the path. Each stride brought them closer to what the boy hoped to be the village. Memories flashed in his mind, the laughter, the familiar sounds of people, the smells of home, warm bread and spices filled the air. He felt empowered by Nala's strength, eager to return to safety. But as they neared the outskirts, another sound reached their ears, this time a chorus of voices. The boy's heart raced with recognition. Those were his people. They were near. Yet just as hope rose within him, the storm intensified, casting deep shadows across the clearing. Nala stopped abruptly, her senses heightened. Ahead, a figure appeared, stumbling into the clearing from the jungle, a villager, lost in the chaos. He looked around, panic etched across his face as thunder rolled ominously above. Without thinking twice, the boy shouted, "We're here." His voice rang out through the downpour, a call to the familiar. Nala took a confident step forward, shaking off the rain, her presence a reassuring sight for the villager. The man saw the small child on the back of the baby elephant. His eyes widened, and before he could comprehend the image, he rushed forward. "You found him," he exclaimed, collapsing to his knees in relief. Tears mixed with rain as he gathered the child in his arms, pulling him close. In the midst of the emotional reunion, Nala felt a surge of joy, watching as families emerged from their homes, each face radiant with gratitude. The villagers came together, their hearts swelling with compassion and relief, celebrating this miracle of connection that had just unfolded. But amidst the joy, whispers began to spread. They gathered around Nala, marveling at this unexpected savior, a baby elephant who had braved the storm and faced danger to bring a lost child home. They reached out, offering fruit and sweet grains, tokens of appreciation for her bravery. "What a remarkable creature," one villager murmured, and others nodded in agreement. Nala stood tall, a sense of purpose coursing through her veins. She had not just rescued a child from the jungle, she had bridged two worlds, the wild and the familiar. As darkness fell and lanterns flickered to life, the celebration began. The villagers recounted the tale of the storm and the elephant who had saved the child. The boy stood in the center, recounting every detail, laughter bubbling up from within as he remembered how Nala had scared the panther away. The villagers watched in awe, caught up in the energy of the story, the boy's words weaving a spell of wonder around them. They knew they would speak of this night for generations to come. But as the festivities continued, Nala felt a familiar pull toward the jungle, a call she couldn't resist. She glanced back at the boy, knowing their bond was forever etched in both their hearts. The celebration was warm and welcoming, but an invitation to adventure tugged at her spirit. With one last, proud glance at the joyous gatherings, Nala turned, her powerful legs carrying her back towards the wild. The jungle beckoned her home, the place where she was meant to roam, to explore, to thrive. As she stepped back into the shadows of the trees, she felt the eyes of the villagers upon her, their admiration burning bright. A gentle trumpet escaped her, echoing through the night, a sound filled with gratitude and a promise of unbreakable bonds forged in courage. Though she would wander the vast wilderness, Nala would always carry the memory of that boy, of their adventure together, of facing fears and overcoming challenges. She had learned not just about bravery, but the power of connection. In the village, the boy watched as the silhouette of the elephant disappeared into the darkness, knowing their story would ripple through time. The village would tell tales of the baby elephant who found a lost child in the jungle, of the bond that defied all odds, creating a legacy built on love, courage, and the beauty of trusting one another. Under a starlit sky, the boy found his mother again, and together they embraced the night, a reminder that heroes can come in all shapes and sizes, and sometimes they look like gentle giants with the heart of a protector. In the depths of the jungle, Nala forged onward with her spirit unshaken, her place in the wild firmly established, forever intertwined with the memories of a lost child who had found his way home, thanks to the strength of a remarkable friendship. In the heart of a dense jungle, where shadows danced under the canopy and sunlight struggled to break through, a curious baby elephant named Nala wandered, her ears flapping in the gentle breeze. Suddenly, a shrill cry pierced the tranquility, echoing through the trees like a desperate prayer. Nala froze, her round eyes opening wide. What was that sound? It tugged at her heart, stirring something deep within her. This wasn't just a cry, it was a call for help. Driven by instinct, she trudged forward, pushing through the thick underbrush. The leaves whispered secrets as she moved, but her focus was unyielding. As Nala ventured deeper, the cries transformed from faint wails to frantic pleas. The fear etched into each sound resonated within her young heart. After what felt like an eternity, she broke through a wall of foliage and stumbled into a small clearing. There, lying amongst the wildflowers, was a boy, just a child, no older than 5. His clothing was dirty and torn, and tears streamed down his cheeks like rivers of despair. Nala's heart sank at the sight. He looked lost, abandoned amidst the towering trees and creeping vines. "Don't be scared," she seemed to whisper with her warm brown eyes as they met his. The boy looked up, his fear mingling with awe as he saw the massive creature standing before him. He blinked away his tears, struggling to comprehend the sight of an elephant, small yet powerful, offering him salvation. He asked, his voice quivering like a whisper in the wind. Without hesitation, Nala stretched her trunk forward, gently wrapping it around the boy. His heart raced at the unexpected lift as she scooped him up, cradling him against her warm body. She seemed to say, her eyes filled with determination. Nala turned, and together they plunged back into the jungle. The boy was taken aback by the sensation of flying, feeling the cool breeze whip through his hair. Each stride Nala made seemed to echo with strength and reassurance, and for the first time in a long while he felt safe. But as they moved through the thicket, dark clouds began to roll in overhead. The world around them shifted, the calm morning transforming into a scene filled with tension. Suddenly, the first drops of rain fell, plopping against the leaves, slowly turning into a torrential downpour. The boy's heart sank as he remembered the sun-filled sky of moments ago. Now it felt like they were trapped in a storm of shadows. Nala quickened her pace, sensing the child's rising fear. She trumpeted, her voice melding with the thunder. The boy clung to her neck, his small hands gripping her coarse fur tightly as they raced through the jungle, the raindrops blurring their path. But just as they spotted the edge of the jungle, a glimpse of bright colors where the village lay, an ominous growl echoed behind them. From the shadows stepped a wild wolf, its eyes glinting with danger. Nala's instincts surged. She positioned herself protectively in front of the boy, her heart pounding like a drum. She seemed to communicate, even as the fear threatened to overwhelm her. The wolf took a step forward, muscles tense and ready to pounce, but Nala was resolute. With a powerful stamp of her foot, she trumpeted loudly, a sound that reverberated through the trees. A warning, a challenge. The wolf hesitated, startled by the unexpected ferocity of the baby elephant. Seizing the moment, Nala charged, lowering her head and advancing toward the animal. The sheer size of her presence and the authority of her trumpet sent the wolf scrambling back into the underbrush, retreating into the depths of the jungle. the boy shouted, exhilaration rushing through him. His laughter was infectious, a burst of joy amid the downpour. Nala turned back, her heart swelling with pride as she nodded, acknowledging their shared victory. But the storm was far from finished. Rain hammered down, turning the ground into a slick, muddy path. Nala pressed on, her instincts leading her onwards, the village looming closer with each step. She could feel the boy's heartbeat, a drum of trust and excitement, echoing against her side. He urged, pointing ahead with wide eyes, "I can hear them." As they burst through the last curtain of vines, the village appeared before them, a colorful tapestry of life and warmth amid the chaos. But relief quickly turned to shock. Villagers stood frozen, jaws dropping at the sight of a baby elephant soaked to the skin, carrying a lost child on her back. The boy's mother was the first to react. She had been searching, calling his name, her heart filled with dread. When she spotted her child safe and sound, the ground beneath her seemed to shift. She screamed, rushing forward, tears of joy streaming down her face, pooling in the mud. He leapt from Nala's back, sprinting into her arms. The warmth of her embrace enveloped him, sheltering him from the fear that had gripped him moments ago. He exclaimed, looking over at Nala with bright, glittering eyes. The villagers watched in awe, their surprise mingled with celebration. They rushed toward Nala, some offering her fruits and others murmuring words of gratitude. The boy's tale spread like wildfire, rippling through the crowd. One villager exclaimed. Nala stood tall and proud among them, feeling the warmth of their admiration wash over her like the rain had moments ago. She had not only saved a life, she had formed a connection between the wild and the human world. With laughter and cheers rising around her, Nala felt her heart soar. But she also felt a tug in her spirit, a call to adventure that was impossible to resist. The jungle had always been her home, a world filled with wonders waiting to be explored. Just then, as the storm clouds began to part, painting the sky in hues of gold and pink, the boy turned to Nala, eyes shining. He asked, hope dancing in his voice. Nala nodded, understanding the bond they had forged. Though her path was one of wandering, a piece of her would always belong to this village, and to the brave little boy whose heart she had touched. As night began to fall and the stars twinkled overhead, Nala took a step back. She knew this wasn't goodbye, but rather the beginning of a beautiful connection that would last through time. The laughter of the villagers echoed in the air, a promise that she would forever be remembered. With one last powerful trumpeted declaration of her spirit, Nala turned and made her way back into the deep embrace of the jungle. The sounds of the celebration faded behind her, replaced by the gentle rustling of leaves. Her heart remained intertwined with the village, where love met adventure, where both wild and gentle coexisted. In that moment, as she melded back into the thick vibrancy of the jungle, Nala understood the true power of connection. The world beyond the trees was filled with stories waiting to be told, and she would carry with her the memory of a lost child she had rescued, an adventure that would resonate through both their lives forever. And as the moon rose high, casting its silver glow across the land, the boy stood at the edge of the village, eyes searching the darkness. Somewhere in the depths of the jungle, a baby elephant roamed free, her heart as boundless as the wild itself, ready for whatever came next. In a lush, wild jungle, alive with the sounds of chirping birds and rustling leaves, a soft, desperate cry broke the morning stillness. It was faint at first, almost drowned out by the symphony of nature, but then it grew louder, more urgent. Nala, a young baby elephant, perked up her large ears. She was known for her curious spirit and playful nature, but today she felt a sudden pull of anxiety. This cry, it was different. It sent shivers down her spine, compelling her to find its source. With her heart racing, Nala trudged forward, her tiny feet navigating through thick grass and tangled vines. She pushed through the underbrush, her trunk sniffing the air, searching for clues. Each step felt heavier, as if the jungle was wrapping around her, whispering secrets she couldn't understand. After a while, she stumbled into a small clearing, and there, lying in a tangle of vines and roots, was a boy, a child, lost and alone. No older than 5, he was dirt-streaked, with tears glistening on his cheeks. His small body shivered in fear, and his wide eyes scanned the trees as if hoping to conjure help from the dense foliage. Nala's heart dropped. She had seen many creatures in the jungle, but nothing had prepared her for the sight of this frightened child. She approached cautiously, her huge frame hovering above him like a protective shadow. "Don't be afraid," she seemed to say with her kind gaze. The boy looked up, uncertainty flashing across his face. He whispered, his voice trembling. That simple question resonated deeply within Nala, stirring something in her, a fierce urge to protect. Without hesitation, she lowered her trunk and gently wrapped it around him, lifting him off the ground. The boy gasped, astonished at the warmth and strength of this gentle giant. In that moment, he felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. Nala seemed to encourage as she turned and began to move through the thicket, the weight of his small body cradled securely against her side. The jungle was a labyrinth of twisting paths, but Nala's instincts guided her. Each stride radiated a determination that matched the boy's rising spirit. But as they ventured deeper into the jungle, dark clouds began to roll in, casting an ominous shadow over the landscape. The air thickened and a low growl of thunder echoed in the distance. The boy felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He called out, fear creeping back into his voice. Trust me, Nala seemed to communicate without words. She quickened her pace, navigating the trees with an urgency he could feel. As rain began to fall in heavy droplets, the familiar sounds of the jungle transformed into a cacophony of chaos. Lightning illuminated the darkness, and with every rumble of thunder, the boy clutched Nala tighter, his heart racing. Suddenly, a rustle in the brush caught their attention. From the shadows emerged a wild wolf, its eyes glinting fiercely, muscles poised to attack. The boy's heart leaped into his throat, fear paralyzing him. Nala froze, instinctively placing herself in front of him, making her already large figure appear even bigger. The air shifted around them, thick with tension. The boy whispered, panic rising again. Nala held steady, her small size masking her immense courage. She raised her trunk high and trumpeted a sound so fierce and commanding that it echoed through the jungle, shaking the very leaves. The wolf hesitated, startled by the unusual display of bravery. In that moment of confusion, Nala charged forward, her eyes locked on the wolf. She was small, but her spirit was bold, and she wasn't about to let fear define her. The growl of the wolf turned to a whimper as it saw the resolve in Nala's stance. With one last defiant growl, it turned and scampered back into the shadows. The boy breathed, exhilaration coursing through him. Joy replaced the fear, and he laughed, the sound echoing against the raindrops. Nala turned back toward him, her heart swelling with pride. Nothing mattered more than keeping this child safe, but the storm was far from over. The rain poured down, making the ground muddy and treacherous. Nala called out, moving again, urgency filling her every step. Together they pressed on, their bond fortified by shared fear and courage, each step resonating with a shared promise of safety. At last, the jungle began to thin. The boy's eyes widened with hope as he spotted the outline of his village in the distance, colors bleeding into one another tapestry-like. But before they could reach it, the air crackled with electricity, and a flash of lightning illuminated their path, casting eerie shadows. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the village, a woman, frantic and desperate. It was the boy's mother. She had been searching endlessly for him, her voice strained with fear. She called, her voice trembling, echoing through the chaos. The boy shouted, overwhelmed with relief. He leapt from Nala's back, running toward her as fast as he could. But just as he reached her, a wave of powerful wind swept through the clearing, causing the trees to sway violently. The villagers watched, stunned at the sight of an elephant standing protectively behind a child, confusion etched across their faces. Was this elephant a guardian or a threat? The air was thick with uncertainty. What was happening? Amid the chaos, a sudden explosion of noise caught everyone off guard. A tree snapped in half and crashed down just a few feet away, sending the villagers scattering in panic. The once peaceful landscape transformed into a scene of frenzied fear. The boy's mother shouted, her voice piercing through the storm's roar. She grabbed her child, hugging him tightly to her chest, but the chaos wasn't over yet. Nala stood her ground, surveying the wild scene unfold before her. The wind whipped through the village, knocking over huts and sending villagers into a frantic scramble for safety. But Nala remained resolute, feeling the weight of responsibility. The boy, still in his mother's arms, stared at the chaos around them, fear tightening like a vice. Just then, Nala spotted something moving in the shadows, a large figure lurking at the edge of the village. Another wolf? No, it was something much worse. The villagers were calling out, a surge of anguish rising in the air. Before anyone could become aware, the figure sprang forward, and Nala felt a cold rush of fear wash over her. She stepped forward, understanding that she needed to protect the boy and his mother from whatever was coming. But as Nala positioned herself defensively, the shadows lifted to reveal a man, a rogue poacher, his eyes aflame with greed and aggression, a net strung over his shoulder. The boy called out, horrified. The poacher smirked, eyes glinting with malice. An easy catch, he sneered. Nala's heart raced. There was a new kind of fear rippling through the air, fear for her safety, fear for the boy. She would not let this happen. Thunder cracked above, and she took a mighty step forward, trumpeting a warning so powerful it echoed through the jungle, drowning out the chaos around them. The poacher's smile faltered, but determination flooded his veins. With a swift motion, he flung the net toward Nala. For a moment, time seemed to slow down. Without hesitation, Nala dodged to the side, the net barely missing her. The poacher cursed under his breath, determination flickering in his wild eyes. The boy yelled, standing boldly in front of Nala, fists clenched. His bravery was breathtaking, fueled by the bond they had created in such a short time. As chaos swirled around them, lightning zipped through the sky in jagged bursts, illuminating the frantic emotions etched on every face. Villagers gathered, realizing that this was not just a storm. It was a battle for their lives and the life of the brave baby elephant who had saved a child from danger. Suddenly, chaos erupted again as the poacher lunged forward, attempting to grab the boy. But Nala, driven by an instinct stronger than fear, charged forward, her small yet powerful body a shield against the man who threatened them. Run, Nala called out, her fur drenched in rain yet radiant with strength. The villagers looked on in disbelief, witnessing something extraordinary unfold before their eyes, a bond between species rising to the surface in a moment of need. But just as the boy and his mother began to retreat, the trees shook, the ground rolled beneath their feet, and with a crack louder than thunder, a branch broke loose, cascading down towards them. And in that instant, everything changed. Nala's heart pounded as she realized what was about to happen. The moment stretched painfully. Would she be able to save them? Would she risk it all for a lost child? In a surge of instinctive bravery, she stepped in front of the falling branch, her body taking the full impact of the weight crashing down. Time froze, and a deafening thud echoed through the jungle, silencing all else. The dust settled, chaos transformed into a haunting stillness. At that moment where danger and courage collided, Nala stood great and strong, but the world held its breath, waiting for the aftermath. Would she rise again, or would the jungle have lost a protector that day? And in that chilling silence, the boy could only stare, helpless and terrified, as shadows danced in the air, leaving them with a question lingering in the depths of the jungle: what would happen next?